Long time no see. Again, I feel like I'm saying that in every single video because it feels like it's been a long time since I filmed a video, and I think it's been almost 2 weeks. And sorry for my voice. I think some of you might know from my Instagram stories and everything that I was sick. And then everybody was like, oh, I wish you a quick recovery. I didn't know you were sick and stuff like that because I didn't post that much of my sick content. So that's why. But I had an idea. I had an idea how I can film the next video. So in case my voice is a little bit changed, you'll know why. Okay, anyway, so I had an amazing idea because let me give you a little backstory of how this idea came to me. So, as you know, I was taking courses to be able to complete the certificate program in editing and publishing. That's an online certificate program that I was taking at UCLA. So, I had some courses connected to writing, connected to editing, and everything like that. So, the whole kind of overview of the publishing industry. And for this class, this was editorial management 2. Oops, 2. So, I had to prepare a presentation, I had to write an article, like a research paper on a topic that I chose that is in any way connected to the publishing industry. And then I had to make a presentation based on that, and then I had to present it. And I was kind of in a blog because I didn't know what to write about. I'm really interested in the whole publishing industry, in editing, in writing, in acquisition, and all of the parts of the publishing industry. But then at the same time, when I had to choose a topic and we almost didn't have any limitations to what it could be, I was like, oh, so okay, that would be easy to come up with a topic, and it wasn't. So I had a really, really hard time choosing a topic that I was interested in and that I really would be motivated to write about. So, da 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 da. After that, after thinking for long weeks, I decided that my topic was going to be exploring and kind of discovering interesting podcasts connected to the publishing industry for people who have many different interests in any of the parts or in any of the specific departments of the publishing industry. And then after thinking that I would write about that I would also make my presentation on that topic, I was like, okay, what if I took that presentation and also turned it into a video for you guys? And I was like, yay, you're a genius, you're amazing, and stuff like that. So I gave myself a lot of compliments and credit for that because I really liked that idea. And I was like, oh yeah, I should do this even more often, not only for my paper or presentation. I should just explore things that could be helpful for you guys and also for myself as well. And then I would share it with you, and then it would make me happy, and probably it would make also you happy. So that being said, I decided to take 3 podcasts. Well, I listened to more than 3 because I had to choose which one would be the perfect choice for my presentation for my paper. But I am going to talk about only 3 because those are the 3 that I really liked and that I chose for specific reasons. And oh my god, my introduction was so long. Okay, let me just get into the video now. And let me also tell you, I'm going to give you a little more information on those and how I chose those, why I chose those, and stuff like that. Okay, so the first podcast that I want to talk about is The Right Process by UCLA. So it's on the UCLA website, and they're the ones posting it, and I really liked it. I would even say that out of all the 3, this is I think this is my most favorite one. And I'll tell you why. So, as I was doing a presentation, creating the whole things and writing the paper for the UCLA course, I was like, okay, it would be interesting to know whether UCLA has a podcast. And I was just searching for different podcasts. And then I saw that UCLA had a podcast which was called The Bright Process, and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And I wasn't gonna choose it if I didn't like it, to be very honest with you, but I did. It was really, really interesting. So it has a few seasons, and the first one starts with a really, really kind of short podcast episodes, which are approximately like 20 to 30 minutes, and then as it goes on, the episodes are getting longer because I feel like there's more to cover, and then they decided maybe to go deeper into all of those things, because I compared the episodes from like season 1 and then season 5, and it was really different. So as you have more time, you can explore the topics more, you can go deeper into the writer's life. So the format is the following. There's no host, so like at least we don't hear the host, so it's not like somebody's sitting there and asking questions. No, you don't hear that. It's just the person, the writer, who is talking about their experience. So the idea is to introduce in one episode a work that went from a concept to what was it called, from concept to completion. Okay, so they're talking about a certain work that they've finished, whether that's script or whether that's a book, or I don't know, a short story or anything like that. So that writer is introducing the whole story behind it, how they came up with that story, how they realized it, and how it became a success. What I made a comparison to, so I thought that these episodes feel like little fairy tales, because at first you're starting when the writer is having a hard time to understand how to write it, and then how to find, let's say, editors who would proofread their work, and how to think of an idea like how to get published, and then at the end of the story they get success in any shape or form. Like they either get published, they either get some kind of fame for what they've done, their work, and praise, and all of that. So I thought it was really, really interesting. So the interesting fact about this podcast is that usually you would think that if there's, at least that's what I think, sometimes when it's the only person talking to you, and if it's video, it might even work differently. So you might even find something to look for, to be interested in while watching an episode. But if it's only audio, sometimes it's really hard to stay concentrated, and you might feel that if it's just one person talking, you might feel a little bored or annoyed and stuff like that, but it's not. So it was really, really, really interesting, and I'm going to continue listening to those podcasts. And I would even say that it's not only helpful in terms of understanding how each person's story went, because obviously all of those stories are different, so there's no one specific path how you can reach getting published, or how you can reach success and everything. So it was really interesting to see how different those paths are, and if you want to go into the publishing industry, you have to find your own specific individualized path. But it was also interesting because of the fact that you could learn how different techniques of getting an editor, of what you can do, what are some of the tips that you can get from that one small episode as a writer. But most of all, I liked it because it was really inspiring. I got inspired to write, I got inspired to continue what I'm doing and not give up. But also, at the same time, I loved it because it was really realistic. You're not seeing like, oh yeah, I wrote something and then somebody by chance wrote it and they decided to publish it. No, it's really realistic, because they're showing how you can balance your personal life and your writing life, because sometimes balancing it out is really hard, because for writers there are days when you're just literally stuck writing the whole day and you have to do it and you have deadlines, but at the same time you have your personal life as well, your family, your friends, and all the other work that you have to do in case you're not a full-time writer. So it was really helpful to understand that you're not alone in this world, and that is, instead of just seeing all of the fame and success and all the praise that the writers are getting, you're also getting a behind the scenes look at what the whole life looks like, and it was really, really interesting, so you can check it out. And moving on to the second one. The second one is called the Editing Podcast. So this one, I don't even know why I said this one. I think I wanted to say something else. Okay, so this one is, I think the audience for this one is more like people who want to go into editing, and I am one of those people. So I want to go into editing, literary editing, probably as either a copy editor or a proofreader, and then to become a writer. Well, I don't know if I can become a full-time writer ever, but still, I'm still hoping. So this is more for editors, for people interested in editing. Well, mostly, but it's not like people who are interested in writing and becoming writers cannot listen to this podcast. So, and I'll tell you why. So the format is two women, two pro editors, Louise and Denise. I won't pronounce their last names because I think that I might mispronounce it, and I will feel very bad if I do. So Louise and Denise, it's funny how it rhymes. I really love that. Okay. Are pro editors. One of them is a fiction editor and the other one is a nonfiction editor, and they are talking about their experiences. But not only that, they're taking a topic, and this one is even shorter than the previous one, if I'm not mistaken, this podcast, but it's kind of in the middle, like a shortish, on the short side. So okay, they're taking a topic, let's say, I don't know, how should the characters be developed in a book, right? I think this is this topic is too broad, but let's say that's the example, right? So they're taking that topic and then they're starting to answer the question generally, and then they're taking turns describing and explaining their own perspectives, and not only personality wise, but also as a professional, because one of them is a nonfiction editor and one of them is a fiction editor. So they're taking turns explaining the differences and how it is different in their own kind of subfield. And I felt that was really interesting. The only problem for me at least, was that I really, really love the British accent. But here, when you have to listen to the technicalities and also the format is a friendlier one, sometimes you don't really get to understand the whole thing because they're laughing, they're telling a joke, they're saying something of a term, or I don't know. It's sometimes it's hard to follow, but I feel like you can get used to that. That's not a problem. But I just wanted to let you know about that because the format also here is a friendlier one, so it feels like two friends, two professionals from the same field are sitting and having a conversation about a certain topic that would interest both of them, and they're making jokes, they're being very, very friendly. It's not like it's a formal podcast here, so I really like that from that perspective. And also you don't only learn about the technical things, which I really like, because sometimes people don't really have the opportunity to either buy books or take different courses connected to, I don't know, the field that they're interested in this case editing, and you're getting to hear about those technical linguistic things from the professionals themselves. And also it feels like you're also kind of having a conversation with them, because it feels like you're directly getting that advice from them. But also what I liked a lot, and before I forget to tell you about this, is that the reason why I'm saying that not only editors can listen to this podcast is because they're not only covering linguistic technical topics, or I don't know, something connected to developmental editing, which is like how the plot can go, how the characters should be improved and developed, and all of this. They're also having some interviews with different writers. So, but they're doing that less, as far as I understood, than doing those editing things. It's mainly both of them, and then sometimes they're inviting people, so writers can get some interesting information from this podcast as well. But also I also think that writers should also listen to editing podcasts to be really good at what they're doing language wise. Oh yeah, and the interesting thing about this podcast is that at the end of the episode, you're getting a recommendation from them. So they're either recommending a tool or a resource that you can take a look, and that would be really helpful. So they're obviously professionals of the field who constantly read, constantly search for new interesting things and books and all of that. So they're usually giving you a recommendation. So they're like, and both of them do it separately, so it's not like one book on both of their sides, but everybody, like, each of them gives you a separate recommendation, and that's really interesting. They're like, oh yeah, I was reading this book last week, and I think that it would be a really great resource for people who are interested in linguistics, or people who are interested in writing, and or tips and tricks about editing and stuff like that. So you can check it out. Okay, and the last podcast, but certainly not least, is called 88 Cups of Tea. And I like this one too. And the target audience for this podcast is a wider one, because here you don't only have content for writers, editors, you also have content for literary agents, which is amazing. And I feel like if you want to get an overview of the publishing industry and you didn't have a professor or you didn't take a course, for example, I'm sorry. So for the example, for the last course that I took, which was called editorial management, so I had a class with my professor was Kate Gale, and she has a publishing house called Red Hen Press, and so she is an editor there. And the thing is that talking to her, well, the classes weren't like, her recording lectures and then putting those out or putting those on the website. It was more of a conversation. So she was sharing her experience of how it's working in the publishing industry, what it is like to have a publishing house, what it is like to be an editor. And then you could even ask your own questions that you're interested to know about, because unless you work in a field, it's really hard to really know a lot of details about it. So she kind of gave us the opportunity to ask the questions that we're interested in, and sometimes people don't have relatives or friends or acquaintances in the publishing industry, so this is your kind of only, well, not only chance, but this is one of the only chances that you have to get some understanding of the whole industry, a huge overview, but at the same time the details that you're really interested to know about. So that being said, So that being said, this gives you a really great overview of what it is like to work in the publishing industry, because you're getting to hear from editors, from writers, from literary agents, and even so moreover, sometimes you're getting to hear, let's say, somebody's story who has been an editor and then became a literary agent and then became a writer. So basically that one person had 3 different experiences, so that's a plus too. and again, that was really, really interesting too. And so yeah, I really like that in that sense. And here it's the format is different again because it's a dialogue. We have a host. What was her name? I forgot her name, which was so amazing of me. Yin. Anyway, okay. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. But okay, you'll hear that in every single episode, so that's fine. I don't really feel as bad, I guess. So we have a host, and she is the one asking questions, and also sometimes she it feels like a conversation, a formal, well, a formalish informal conversation where she's asking questions, but at the same time sometimes she talks about her own experience as well. She's like, oh yeah, I remember reading this book, blah 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 blah. And she from what I understood, she's not a professional of the field. And then sometimes, so I was reading the reviews of that podcast, and people were like, she's talking about herself a lot. Sometimes she doesn't let the guest speak, and she's the one talking about her own experience. And I'm like, oh, I think that I would be like that as a host, because I always want to make a connection to my experiences as well. So I would be an annoying host, I guess. And yeah, it's really interesting. And also sometimes it's really interesting to listen to this podcast because the roles of the editors and the literary agents are constantly changing because the industry is changing as well. So it's a good thing to listen to those podcasts and get an updated information of what their job looks like at the moment, what are they doing, what are they not doing anymore, and what is another professional's responsibility, which I really liked. And it's also a great idea for those who know that they want to go into the publishing industry, but they don't really understand what job specifically they're interested in, because they don't really know what those people are doing per se. So I think that would be a great thing for you, for any of you who are interested in that, to check that podcast out. And let me see if I have. Oh yeah, and also why the reason why the whole website and the podcast has a wider audience is because not only do they have content for people interested in publishing, but also they have different podcasts connected to people people from the movie industry. Let me just check it out, and I'll actually let you know, because I remember that they have content for people interested in movies, movie podcasts, and also, okay, so they have other podcasts as well, like film and TV. For example, they have podcasts on actors, directors, producers, writers. Also for people who have many other interests like business, activism, finances, personal growth, which I think would be interesting. By the way, I didn't see that one. I have to check it out. Personal growth. And then you have the opportunity to also check out all of those podcasts. You can just click on all podcasts and not just go category by category. And also 10 most listened to. And you also have articles and essays here. You can also shop the books that they've picked, which I think is pretty cool. I think if I had a website connected to publishing, it would probably look a little bit like this one, so you can check it out later on. And that is it for this video. I hope you liked it. Let me know if you're interested to get new resources on any topic connected to writing, editing, publishing in general, because I'd be really, really interested to do my research on that if I don't have any resources prepared, B, share it with you, and C, also learn about those things myself, because especially in this industry, you have to be a lifelong learner. You can't stop learning, and you have to keep learning and reading and checking new things out, because the industry is evolving pretty quickly. And I hope you loved it. And thank you so much for being here, for watching my videos, and I really hope that you join me in the next video. Thank you so much, and I love all of you, and I'm so thankful that you're watching these videos. It means a lot. Mwah! Bye-bye.